This is a rich and beautiful place here on the southern Oregon coast. Rich in natural resources and beauty found really nowhere else on the planet. Hello, my name is Don Yost, and I have a story to share with you. Our story begins here, where a river meets ocean. Nestled in the Coast Range of southwest Oregon is the gently flowing Coos River. Its 545 miles of streams and tributaries flow through the watershed to its confluence with the Pacific Ocean. It is the artery that connects people who live here with the land. Early settlers claimed the low-lying land, building dikes and creating pasture lands. We now know that those lands were critical habitat for salmonids and other indigenous species. Early logging practices cut vast swaths of timber from the fertile hills and mountains, often leaving the soft underbelly of the landscape vulnerable to erosion in the midwinter rains. That erosion filled in the salmon spawning beds that had produced a millennium of salmon runs. In 1993, a new nonprofit organization was formed here on the southern Oregon coast. The Coos Watershed Association took a whole basin approach to healing this land. They recognized that restoration is compatible with working lands. They also recognized that you don't have to be an environmentalist to participate in the healing. After all, it affects all of us. So, for the past 25 years, the Coos Watershed Association has partnered with public agencies and private landowners to nurture that healing process. The mission of Coos Watershed Association supports environmental integrity and economic stability. Water connects us all socially, economically, and ecologically, and we all depend on a healthy watershed. Our story moves now upstream to a tributary called Vilanch Creek.
Productive forests have supported our coastal economy for generations. Over 75% of the Willanch Basin is made up of industrial forest land.
Because of its close proximity to the mills, the Willanch subbasin has experienced frequent timber harvests since the early 1850s. We now have a better understanding of how to manage these timberlands. Vilanch Creek is beginning to rebound from past impacts of historic land use practices.
Over the last several decades, Coos Watershed has collaborated with industrial timber managers to pursue restoration opportunities that are a win-win for both timber companies and the environment.
Restoration efforts often lead to improved landscape connectivity and greater watershed function between different habitat types. These habitats are utilized by many species during different times of their life history.
Our collaboration with industrial timber managers has allowed us to significantly reduce road-related sediment inputs to Vilanch Creek. These inputs can often lead to poor water quality and decreased habitat function. In building these relationships, we've been able to successfully improve road drainage by decommissioning several forest roads and replacing 4 undersized culverts with new bridges to improve over 6 miles of Vilanch Creek. Historic modifications to Willanch Creek have reduced stream complexity, drastically affecting fish habitat. With the help of timber companies and farmers, we've worked to address this limitation. To date, we've placed over 100 logs in the upper portion of Willanch Creek. These large wood structures help to create deep, slow water pool habitat and stabilize gravels, important to salmon reproduction and critical to the survival of future salmon generations.
Mid-Valley region of the Willanch subbasin has a long history of mixed agricultural use and private timber production. These land uses have changed the landscape to what we see today, including relocating streams to create more pasture and more roads for timber harvest. Since the late 1800s, the main agricultural use in Willanch Creek has been dairy farming and cattle grazing. These activities have sustained many families over the years. Today, less than 20% of the Willanch subbasin is in agricultural use. Past land use practices to support agriculture included channelizing the stream and removing trees from the stream bank. This left the stream exposed to more sunlight and faster water. More sunlight meant increased water temperatures and reduced habitat for salmon. Stream cleaning efforts in the 1980s also removed large wood from the stream. This, along with riverbank clearing, has decreased spawning and rearing habitats all along the Oregon coast. Allowing livestock to access the stream has broken down stream banks, causing more sediment to be in the water. Restoration efforts have excluded livestock from the stream with fencing, and planting trees have provided shade and stabilization for the stream bank. These efforts have also created more stable pastures for landowners and better conditions for fish. In 1995, we collaborated with the Lone Rock Timber Company to implement one of the first restoration projects in Vilanch Creek. Together, we planted an entire field full of spruce trees that was previously in agricultural use. This project was the very beginning of restoration activities that would improve water quality. We often think of salmon as an indicator of good water quality, but other species need it too. Having clean, cool water is as important to these species as the air we breathe. So how does planting trees help? There's more shade on the stream, and this lowers stream temperatures. Trees also keep the soil in place, reducing sediment. How do we know this? In 1997, the Coos Watershed Association started monitoring stream temperatures in Willanch Creek to measure how much restoration benefits the stream. Today, stream temperatures have gone down over 10 degrees during the hottest weeks of the summer. And now, stream temperatures have been at usable levels for salmon for nearly 10 years as a result of our collective efforts.
Coastal coho salmon populations have evolved to thrive in sloughs like this one across the Pacific Northwest for millennia. Their complex life history and migrations bring them into contact with many of our daily activities. To fully understand the aspects of salmon persistence, long-term monitoring is necessary. These efforts provide an assessment of fish response to the dynamic environments in the tidal zone. By monitoring salmon movements between Vilanch Creek and the estuary, we better understand when and how fish utilize these habitats. The tools we use are rotary screw traps and radio frequency tagging. The combination of these methods allow us to capture, tag, and then track salmon throughout their migrations, even as they return as adults to spawn. We can estimate salmon population size, growth rates, and survival in comparison to previous years and other sites on the coast. All of this improves our understanding of how natural and human factors affect salmon, both locally and regionally. The incredible journey that salmon make, twice transitioning between fresh and salt water, is exceptional in nature. This life history is called anadromy. Our research and others show that these migrations are linked to regular seasonal and tidal cycles. Throughout historic and current changes, salmon continue to find productive habitats. Quality rearing habitats provide shelter from predators, abundant food, suitable water temperatures, and in sloughs like this one, salinities that promote growth and survival. Tidal slough habitats like this one around Coos Bay provide the optimal water conditions for salmon to grow and transition to life in the ocean, a process called smolting. Salmon that have access to tidal water during smolting grow larger faster and are more likely to survive in the ocean and return to spawn in streams like Vilanch Creek. Tide gates are designed to prevent tidal waters from flooding agricultural fields and other human development. The MTR tide gate installed here at the mouth of Vilanch Creek has restored a portion of the natural tidal cycle that salmon have adapted to. With stakeholders working together, tide gate restoration can promote both fish and pasture productivity.
The Willanch story is a great example of the power of partnerships. For nearly 25 years, both private and public landowners have worked together to improve the landscape in a wide variety of ways. As our long-term monitoring shows, together these individual actions have created big improvements in both water quality and fish habitat. These improvements not only benefit the fish and wildlife, but it also benefits the community and economy. Water connects and impacts all of us, and we all play a role in being stewards of this vital resource.